Did you see where the New York Times brought 526 people to San Antonio? Perfectly demographically researched for all, and got them together for 2 days, and they discovered that people could view the world differently and not hate each other. and they had a budget of $3 million. You guys could have done it for 2 and not have to bring 526 people from all over the country to San Antonio, Texas, to prove that people can see the world differently and still get along. All transformation is a shift in narrative. So my story until I was 60 was I was a gypsy, outsider. And if I would move, I couldn't remember who my neighbors were. Even when I was working with civic engagement in communities, I was still an outsider. I'd come in, do what I did, and go home. And then something happened in Cincinnati. After about 3 years, I said, maybe I'm here for a reason other than what I thought.
What woke you up to that?
My wife, she said, you write about community, why don't you do something? And after I defended myself and knew she didn't understand me, I figured out she was right. And so I ran for neighborhood council, and it gets right at what you're talking about. Some other people on the council, I don't see the world the same way as. And sometimes we get mad, and they get mad at me for doing something. And then there they are in the produce department at the only grocery store in the neighborhood. And what do? Go to canned goods until they leave, or go to the produce department and say, hi, how you doing? And so I decide to say, hi, how's the broccoli? I have to live with him now. I can't avoid him. That's the pain and the beauty of a neighborhood, of a community, as you run into people that you see the world so different from. And you've done things before when I've said things weren't great. I could always leave town, If I travel and I'm a gypsy and make a mistake, I just won't get called. But here, if I decide I'm a neighbor, I have to find a way to see the beauty in people that you just feel so different with the stranger. To me, what you're doing is creating hospitality in the world, which is the welcoming of strangers. It's easy for me to just be around people that see the world the way I do. And so what you're doing is saying that's incomplete, because if I'm not with a stranger, I'll never be surprised.
Right.
I'll never have to change my narrative. I can just become embedded in it. Engagement to me is to get people to talk to each other with powerful questions, which is exactly what you do. That's why we're on this call. And that produces accountability. Once I am in a small group with you and deal with the kind of questions you're raising with strangers, somehow I'm more accountable for my actions than before I had that conversation.
As people interrogate each other's points of view, not each other, but each other's points of view, and ask clarifying questions to draw out, there's a lot of this,
I know.
Figuring out how to have that dialogue, it seems to me, is a communal puzzle
that you're solving. It's amazing to me, and you can, it's so scalable. You can have 8 people in the room or 800, it doesn't matter. I've always start early on. One of my questions is, what's the crossroads you're at this stage of your life? Okay. And then I always ask people afterwards, what struck you, wanting lightning to enter the room? And they always say, I never knew I had so much in common with these strangers. I never knew. And so what you're producing is an end to isolation. And in my mind, what you're doing is helping people change their narrative about the stranger or the other. And you do that by design to intimacy. There's nothing so loving is to ask another human being, why do you care so much about that? So what you're doing is truly transformative, because it's having people change the story they have about who these people are.